The wind had teeth that morning. Snow blew sideways across the Wyoming prairie, erasing the horizon in white sheets. Sarah Whitlock, 7 months pregnant and alone since her husband died in a mining accident, wrapped her threadbare shawl tighter around her shoulders as she guided her stubborn mule toward her small, failing homestead. Every step hurt, every breath burned, but she had no choice. Winter didn't wait for widows. She was halfway across the frozen creek when she heard it, a low groan carried by the storm. She stiffened.
Out here.
Sounds didn't just happen. Not unless something was wrong. At first she saw nothing but swirling snow. Then her eyes caught a dark shape slumped beside a broken wagon. A man, motionless, half buried under frost. Sarah hesitated. She had no weapon, no help, and barely enough strength to stand upright. But something deep inside her, the same thing, that told her to keep living after her husband's death, pushed her forward. She trudged through the drifts till she reached him. The stranger was tall, broad-shouldered, and bleeding from a deep cut along his ribs. His coat was expensive, far finer than anything folks wore around these parts. His horse was nowhere in sight. His lips were blue, his pulse faint. If she left him, he would die. If she helped him, she might die trying. Still, she couldn't walk away. With trembling hands, she lifted his arm over her shoulder and dragged him toward her mule. It took everything she had. Her breath came in sharp bursts. Her vision blurred, but somehow she managed to haul the unconscious stranger up and get him home. Inside her cabin, she stoked the fire, boiled water, stitched his wound with shaking fingers, and wrapped him in her last good blanket. She did not sleep. She barely sat. For 2 days, she nursed him, whispering to keep herself awake. On the 3rd morning, the stranger's eyes finally opened. They were a piercing silver gray, sharp despite the pain. Where am I? He rasped. Safe, she answered softly. For now? He studied her swollen belly, her tired eyes, her worn dress. You saved me. You were dying, she said simply. Can't let a man freeze on the roadside. He tried to sit up but winced. What's your name, Sarah? Sarah Whitlock. He nodded slowly. I'm Elias. He paused, like the name tasted strange on his tongue. Elias Turner. Something flickered across his face. Not deception, but hesitation. The kind people wear when they're used to being recognized instantly. But Sarah didn't recognize him, didn't know anything about him, didn't care. He was a life, and she protected it. For 3 more days, she cooked what little food she had left, changed his bandages, and kept the fire alive. Without her, he wouldn't last a single night. As he grew stronger, so did their conversations. She told him about her husband, about the mine collapse, about fighting to hold on to her land despite the debts piling up. She shared how folks in town whispered behind her back that poor widow won't last the winter. Elias listened quietly, almost too quietly. One night, as the wind howled outside, he looked at her with a strange mix of admiration and sorrow. You risked everything for a stranger, he said. That's what we're supposed to do, she replied. World's harsh enough as it is. His hand twitched, like he wanted to reach for hers but didn't dare. The next morning, Sarah woke to find the door open and Elias gone. His borrowed coat was missing and so was her mule. Panic surged through her. She stumbled outside, calling for him, fearing he'd collapsed somewhere, but he left no tracks. As if he vanished into thin air. 2 days passed, then 3. The food ran low, her strength began to wane. Her baby kicked restlessly as though sensing her fear, just when she was certain she had been a fool to trust him. A thunderous rumble shook the ground. Dozens of horses appeared on the ridge, riders and dusters, badges glinting in the sun, pulling wagons loaded with supplies. At the head rode Elias, but now dressed in a dark tailored coat, sitting atop a powerful black stallion. He looked like the storm itself answered to him. Sarah stepped out of her cabin, stunned. Elias dismounted and approached her gently. I'm sorry I left without a word, he said, but I had to return with what you deserved. The riders behind him began unloading crates of food, coal, blankets, medicine, more than she'd seen in years. She stared at them, confused. "Elias? Who are you?" He held her gaze. "My full name is Elias Turner Caldwell." The name hit her like a gust of wind. Caldwell, owner of nearly every major ranch in the Wyoming Territory. The man whose cattle and land stretched farther than railroad lines. A man people spoke about like a myth. "That's not possible," she whispered. He stepped closer. "I tried to travel quietly. Wanted 1 week without guards, without titles, without people treating me like something I'm not. But then I got ambushed by rustlers. Would have died if not for you." "I didn't do it for a reward, I know," he said softly. "And that's exactly why you deserve one." He showed her papers, her debts cleared, her land protected, new barn already being built by his crew. "I won't let the woman who saved my life struggle another day." Tears burned her eyes. She hadn't cried in months. "Elias, this is too much." "No," he said gently. "This is the very least." He hesitated again, then spoke with a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. "I've met people who wanted my land, my money, my name. But you wanted nothing from me. You gave me more kindness than I've seen in years." He took her hand carefully, respectfully. "If you'll allow me, I'd like to be part of your life, your child's life, not as a debt. As charity, but as a man who cares for you deeply." Sarah felt her heartbeat thunder. She had lost so much, but standing before her was a man she trusted, not because he was powerful, because he had been weak in her home, and she had seen the real him. "I'd like that," she whispered. And in the middle of that quiet Wyoming plain, surrounded by men unloading a new future, Elias pulled her gently into his arms. Winter still came, but for the first time in a long while, Sarah didn't face it alone. Because kindness, even when given to a stranger, always finds its way back. And sometimes it returns as the most unexpected blessing of all.